Right then. All right. So some housekeeping. You probably already saw this if you were in a previous session, but for Q&A today, looks like we're having some issues with the actual Q&A tool. So go ahead and throughout the session, put along with any of your messages, put your questions in the chat. And we'll be answering that promptly. You might notice, but I have Brian Thomas, who also did a session before. He's with me as my co-host, so he'll be manning that chat window. It's funner if you are chatting to everyone. You might have a question that other people have, and I've even seen teachers answering their questions from other teachers, and I love that. So go ahead and change your the to feature of your chat to everyone instead of host and panelists, so we can all see your questions and your comments. Lastly, you should see a live transcript option. If you don't, then don't worry about it. But if you do and you want to see what that feature gives you as subtitles, go ahead and click on that. You'll have to enable it, but that's just an optional thing. All right. With that, let's get started. So to start things off, I'm going to launch a poll, and I'm curious to know how you use Schoology in your district, or for your classroom, or just in general how you're using Schoology. Answers are quite long, sorry about that, so I'll let you read that before you answer. But I'm really curious to see where people are at. It's different every year. We get more and more advanced with each year. 5 years ago would be very different than I'm sure what the answers are today. All right, looks like we have at least half of the people answering so far. I love this group. You guys are very participatory. I myself was not always that participating student when I was younger, but I love seeing it. Okay, so I'm going to actually end the poll now, and let's just see where everyone's at. Looks like the most of you guys are using Schoology for everything, including the gradebook. Okay, that's great. And then it kind of goes in the downward trend as you go up. Assignments, tests, so grading, and then assignments, and then communicating, and then not using it very much. So hopefully with today's session, we're gonna edge everybody over more into the last choice. Maybe you'll want to use Schoology more often, maybe not for everything, but at least it won't be hard. So that's my goal today, is to get everyone more familiar with Schoology and be able to make that decision on whether you want to use it or not. Okay, so what I'm covering today is we'll be looking at a video of a teacher who has some things that they want to use Schoology with, and we're going to try to solve that problem in a case study today. Following that, I'll show you what it looks like when you have syncing assignments, assessments, and grades going to Schoology, give you that view of, quick demo of what you're trying to go towards. And then finally, as a general question I get often is, even if I don't get things syncing into Schoology, how do I just display any TCI page in Schoology? So I'll go over that as well. So to get started, let's look at this video, Helping Mr. Mormon. Might be familiar for some of you.
Hi there. I have a question. I'm hoping it's actually a kind of a three-part question. I'm hoping you can help me with today. I'm using your History Alive, the United States Through Industrialism program with my 8th grade students. And I'm in the program and I'm looking at the text here. And I love the fact that the text is online. And I see that there is like an activity and then some notes that the students are supposed to take underneath that reading that it goes with that. We actually use Schoology here in my district as our learning management system, and I'm trying to figure out how I can get this assignment, these notes that the students are taking here, as well as the reading into my Schoology account. That's kind of the first part, and then my next two questions are kind of related to that. Thinking ahead to when I'm done with this this reading in this lesson, I'm looking at your assessments here, and I see that you have some pre-made assessments already that I can use. I would like that to be able to be accessible to my students in Schoology as well. So I don't know if there's a way that I can get these assessment questions into Schoology, but I need help with that. And then my final question, which is also related to Schoology, is I was looking at my lesson plans, and I absolutely love under classroom activity these slides that you have. Really gives the students a visual representation of what we're doing, and it allows me to model things that I want them to do or to think about. But from time to time, I have students that are absent, or maybe they just need to have access to this again. So is there a way that I can share these slides with my students? And if so, can I share it in Schoology? So thank you for your time, and I appreciate your help.
Awesome. All right, let's help Mr. Mormon here. Let's get out of this window.
Hi there.
So
Hi there.
there's a variety of things that Matt in that video went over. We have a variety of content. So there's reading, there's handouts, there's slides, questions on notes, assignments, grades. There's a lot of stuff that we provide online, and many of these are gradable. And so with the Schoology integration that I'm going to be showing, it's really about getting all of this stuff in Schoology so that you and your students don't have to leave Schoology when working on TCI content. So let me give you a quick demo of what that might look like, and then we'll go into how to set it up, what's involved. I'll take some questions, but let's go. So here I have a course in Schoology set up for the virtual summit, and I have some reading, the introduction section, the lesson game, an assessment, and slides in here. So you'll notice that I can see this directly inside of Schoology. And another thing that you don't really see is that I don't have to be signed into TCI to click on this link and then to see the content, because the link I set up, it'll be enabled with single sign-on. And so, they'll go straight in, not have to sign in ahead of time. So that's a really great thing about this. Here's the reading. I have all the features that I had before. If I were to go outside of this window and go into like TCI in another window, as a student, they can type in their answers. I'm logged in as a teacher right now. Everything you have access to in the website, it's available in this frame. If we go into the next one, you'll see the lesson game. Same thing. I can interact with it just like I could on our website, and then the student can answer their lesson game directly in here. Let's take a look at the test. Look at that. Got some multiple choice questions here. A student can do that and then complete the turn in there. And then finally, you have the slides. So let's take a look at these slides. Give me a second here. There you go. So you can have the slides directly in here. Don't have to leave Schoology. And that's kind of the feedback that we got from people who wanted to integrate with Schoology in the past. And the last thing I want to show before I take any questions about just generally the feature before I show how to use it, is the gradebook. So you'll see for this lesson game here that I have a score coming in. That was not copy and pasted. That was directly synced in, and I'll show you how that works in a bit. But before I kind of get into the setup, I want to answer any questions that you might have right now. Any questions yet so far, Brian?
Just some people chomping at the bit to know how you do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Get everyone eager. So, okay. So it's very easy, actually. I have the fortune of doing the learning management system where I think it's probably the easiest to get these things set up. So for myself, I typically will create a folder to get all of my stuff in because I don't like everything unorganized just on the materials page. So let's say I'm going to create a folder for Unit 6. And that same program Matt was talking about was, I believe it was US history. And so you just go to materials and you click on Teach TCI here, and you'll see your programs as an option to choose through. I only have one. You choose which lesson you want to create an assignment for. So let's say instead of lesson 20, which was the one in the video, I want to do lesson 16. Then I have all of my assignment types. So let's say I want to do reading and the introduction. Just click on assign. And then directly in here, you'll see the assignment. If you just stop here, students will be able to access it. So that's good. That might be all you want, you know, in that poll. Some just wanted to create the assignment. Students will be able to see this when they log into Schoology. But if you want to actually have it available for grade syncing, you have one extra step you're gonna have to do. You'll edit it, and then you'll enable grading here. So I'll put this required field for reading and notes I created a category for, and then that's it. Now this assignment is ready for your student to access, and grade syncing is enabled. But that's pretty much the integration. I'll show you the other types of assignments I created, just in case there's some nuances there. So for the lesson game, let's say, I want to go to the same lesson. Let's do lesson 16, lesson game. There's only one type, it's crack the code, assign it, boom, there it is. Let's do the same thing here. And then now this one's ready. Let's try to do an assessment. So now the assessment's an interesting one, because if you're familiar with our tool, you'll need to create a copy of that to make it your own before you can assign it. And so if I click on assignment here, you're going to not have one. So you do have to go into TCI. What I did, so it didn't open up in a brand new window or anything, or I wanted to open another tab, was I did hold Command to open that. Microsoft, you can hold Control, and it'll open up in a new tab. So for lesson 16, that link brought me to assessments. In Matt's situation, he wanted to use the TCI test. Oh, we got a question. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Morris. There are a few folks who want to know how you even set up the link in the first place before you get to doing some of this.
I see. So just like having TCI even show up here.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not sure how many of you are admins or teachers in your district. There's one prerequisite in order to get this showing up, and that is setting up LTI. So if you were to go to the Help Center, I'll just do that now. I'll plug it again later. But if you go to Help Center, you click on Learning Management Systems to get into this area, you'll see a Help Center article about Schoology. So this main article will kind of go through what I'm going through today in terms of setting up the links in Schoology. But in order to enable that to show up, the Teach TCI option to show up in the dropdown in the first place, an admin in your district does need to set up LTI. And so that's what this related article for admins takes an admin through. Is it's a quick 3-step process for setting up LTI for your district. When that happens, there will be a setup involved for in Schoology to use that LTI like credentials, basically, to set up the app in Schoology. It's pretty simple. I could go through that now because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be good on time today. So basically, you would go into here, and then you would find TCI as an option. And then, so this is what an admin would do in Schoology. You would click on this to install the app. You put in the credentials that you set up in TCI, which are these things. And then that's pretty much it. Once you do that as an admin for your district in Schoology, all your teachers will be able to see this as an option when they click on Add Materials. So that's more directed towards administrative people. But just know as a teacher, once that happens, you'll have this. Does that answer the question? Are there any additional questions, Brian, that you see related to that?
I think that's the biggest thing, that if they're going to do it just like you're doing it right here, that the administrators got to make that connection first. And then the help, and I put in, by the way, folks, I put in the links to the directions for you as a teacher. And then I also put in the direct link to the help section for your administrator, your tech administrator, on what they need.
Yeah. And I did see a question about whether or not you need an admin. We do recommend that the admin does it because, well, actually, yeah, you do need an admin, at least an admin in the TCI system, because you can't generate the LTI credentials you'll need without having the admin access in TCI. If you have trouble getting your admin to do these steps, even though it should be pretty quick for them, you might want to maybe reach out to us and we can probably connect with them. If they can't, we might be able to look into a future option where you could do as a teacher. We just really don't recommend that, just because, as you can imagine, if every teacher were to set up their own, there's a lot of different credentials to manage, and it could be quite confusing if an admin does come in later on and want to like consolidate everything. So typically we'll want to have the admin involved. But yeah, hopefully you just send them an article, and like honestly, that you can even tell them that, if you just work with TCI, they'll do it for you. It's really fast. They could do it themselves. We've had good feedback on the admin setup taking very little time. So Brian, any other questions before I move on in terms of the finish setting up these assignment links?
No, I think you're good for now.
All right, cool. So as I was saying about assessments, if you're familiar with our system, then you'll know that you need to actually create the assessment or the test to make it your own. You can make edits and everything. But if you just want to use exactly what TCI has, the best and easiest way to do that would just be to go to the assessments page in TCI. And then you would find the English or Spanish version, and you just click on use this test. So here I'm just going to leave it saying like, actually, I'll say for virtual summit. You click on use this test. It'll make a copy of the full test. This one had 20 questions. It might take a little while to copy. Once you do that, then this test exists now. And so if I were to go back into Schoology and click on this link, let's go into lesson 16 again. It takes a little longer to load today. It's so interesting when only when you have a bunch of people looking, technical problems occur. And I'm sure you guys know that as teachers. All right, so let's just do that here at lesson 16. Assessment, I have the one I created. Assign it, same thing. Just enable grading and put it in one of your categories, and you should be good to, oh, the name's too long. Oh, that's funny. You should be good to go. So those are the 3 assignment types. And then I'll go through the grade syncing before I get into the slides, because the slides are not gradable. And so it's slightly different. That falls more into the, I want to put any link, TCI link inside of Schoology. So what you could do is after your students take these, so let me go back to unit 7, because I have a student that already, completed some work there. I have a student that completed the lesson game, or like at least part of it. So what that looks like is right now, the Schoology integration is still in beta, this new one. In a couple of months, we're gonna make it more efficient. Right now, though, if you're using it, you do have to click a button once in order to get your students' grades coming in. And so how you do that is you'll need to go to TCI anyway to get into TCI. I like to go directly into the same link and then just go to grades here. But you need to get to the grades page. And then once you do that, then let me click on grades. Once you do that, you'll see some scores here. Anything that has a score already, there's a button to sync grades. So if I had 30, 60, 100 students here, I only have to click on this button once, but it'll essentially send all the grades over into Schoology. And you might have noticed that the score in Schoology was 2.5. So one thing to keep note of is with Schoology's integration that we have, the point value gets normalized. So for this lesson game, I actually made it 100 points in Schoology, whereas it's 20 points in TCI. So you can imagine, times 5, this is 2.5% of 20. So then when you get into the Schoology grade syncing, it'll normalize and say they got 0.5 out of 20. Well, that's like 2.5 out of 100. So that's how the grade syncing will work for the assignments. But that's basically the integration. Are there any questions about setting up those links or how to get the grade syncing after students have completed the work? Brian, you got anything?
Will it automatically sync student grades that come in later?
Yes, great question. So like I said, during the beta, you do have to click on this button after grades have come in. So that would mean that if grades came in later, you would have to click on that button again. That's why it is our top priority to improve that part of this, the integration, so that anytime the grade changes, that triggers a sync. But for now, you do have to click on that button each time there's a new grade coming in. Other questions, Brian?
Yeah. Do the grades have to be 100 in Schoology?
No. So the reason why I mentioned the 100 is just the fact that if you were to use the Google Classroom or Canvas integrations that we have, the grades that come in, the point value of an assignment has to be the same between that LMS and TCI. So this lesson game, for example, there's no way you can change it to be a different point value with those integrations. But with this integration with Schoology, you can set whatever point value you want for the assignment you created in Schoology. I just so happen to have set it up to be 100 points. But when you are enabling grading here in Schoology, you'll have the option to change what the point value of that assignment is. And like I said earlier, it'll just calculate the point value based on the source. So 0.5 out of 20, if you made it like 40 points, then 0.5 out of 20 is 1 out of 40. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it answers, Amy, I think it answers your question. She said her school, they use a standard-based grading of 1 to 4. So
so standards-based grading, that's an interesting one. If your rubric is linear in that way, where like say they got 5 out of 20, that would be 1 out of 4, basically, if you're going to do a linear thing. I know that some standards-based grading will have a different, like maybe getting 50% correct is 1 point, and then it's different from later on. But if you have a linear system and you make it like this thing worth 4 points, that is correct, that it'll normalize and come over just as you would expect it. Other questions?
Yeah, Morris, one of the folks asked, when there's a new score that needs to be synced, does TCI give you a notification that there is something new and needs attention? Can you show Allison where the dashboard is?
Yeah, sure. So another great thing about this integration with Schoology is that you'll always have a link to TCI on the sidebar. that is enabled for signing you in without you having to sign in ahead of time. So why I mentioned that is that it's a good way to get into TCI without having to like type in a URL or go to the corporate website or something like that. So here's the dashboard. I don't have any work that has been very recent, but if a student completes work, it shows up down here. And that's how you can, keep on top of student work, and then you can go to the grades and then sync grades from there. One thing that I've gotten feedback on is like alerting in Schoology. I don't think that's possible, unfortunately, with this integration. You'll have to stay on top of it by going to TCI and seeing notifications from there. But like I said, if we get that, when we get that improvement in where score changes will just trigger the grade syncing, you won't have to worry about clicking on that sync grades button and staying on top of like new grades. If that were to happen, then any sort of like grade alerting system you have in Schoology, if they have one, that'll work great. Other questions at this point before I get into the third part with any link inside of Schoology?
I don't see any other questions right now, Morris.
Okay, great. So this third thing, it's nothing new. Being able to display any TCI page in Schoology. But I always like to mention it because there's more reason for you to use Schoology with the upgraded integration. So maybe this becomes more relevant. So say you wanted to get a link into Schoology and show it in Schoology without having to leave the Schoology like website. Similar to the slides, right? So I'm going to show you the slides and I'll show you like any link. The way you do that is basically, let's go to find lesson 16 slides. So hopefully in the previous sessions, people mentioned how to opt in and see this like new lesson overview page. Even if you don't see this page, you'll still be able to get to the information I'm trying to get to here. It's just going to look slightly different. So let's go to lesson 16. The link that students are going to see when looking at the presentation, you can grab that from here. You can grab that from here. You could grab it by going there and then copying the URL from the bar up at the top. I like to just save a little time, right click, and then just copy the link address. You do that from here too. That just copies it to my clipboard. And let's go back into Unit 6 and then add in a link. So click on, I might have done that too quick here. So let's go a little slower. Add materials, add file link or external tool. Click on link, you put your link in there, and then you put some sort of title. So let's say lesson 16 slides. So what's important here for showing in Schoology or not, there's a lot of options. This icon. So you turn it off, then when a student or you clicks on that, it'll open a new window. If you keep this on, then the link that you put in will show inside of Schoology, and it shows like this. So that's pretty much it for that. You might want to put anything, honestly. So let's say you wanted to put a link for yourself to get to the grades page and you don't assign that to anybody. What I could do is I could go to the grades page, find that link at the top here, and then I could put that, link for myself so that I don't have to this might be my favorite way of getting there. And it's like faster or something like that. This goes to, I don't know, you go to pick on any link. This one's going to happen to go to lesson 16. But you could just put that in here. And then now I have the grades page, directly in here. This might be a good thing to do until the upgrade and the automatic, so you don't have to use the button anymore for the sync grades. Might be a good shortcut for now, you know. But again, that's been around. This is something that, so unlike the integration at the top here, where you have like assignments with grade syncing involved, if you just wanted to have links show up in Schoology without sort of any integration related to what I called LTI earlier, you just wanted to put links and show up in Schoology, you could do that as a teacher. You don't need an admin for that. You just need to send a message to us so that we have your URL, because the districts, your Schoology account might have a different URL than we're familiar with. And if you don't share that with us, then when you try to put a link and show it in Schoology, you'll get an error page saying like, it's not allowed. We'll need to whitelist the URL related to your Schoology account in order for you to show TCI websites in a frame in Schoology. So just to recap, the assignment and grade integration with like that drop down in materials to easily create assignments, that needs admin to set up LTI with TCI. Putting any link inside of a frame in Schoology like this, you don't need an admin to set up, but you do need to let us know what your URL is. I recommend trying your best to get your admin to set it up. As you probably saw, that process was, pretty easy in terms of getting assignments in there, and it'll save you a lot of time copying and pasting if you use Schoology for assignments or grades. But yeah, that's actually the end of the demo, and then I have some more stuff on the slides. But are there any questions right now related to the Schoology integration or using Schoology with TCI?
Yes. So Allison asked, if an assignment is marked as missing in Schoology and a student submits a late assignment in TCI, a grade is given in TCI, will that new TCI score import into Schoology and override the missing classification, giving the updated grade in Schoology?
Honestly, I'll have to test that. I believe the answer is yes. So it's going to work very similar to if you were going to manually grade the assignment. So if there's a missing indication or notification and you're able to overwrite that by putting a grade on the assignment, then the answer would be yes. If you can't do that now, then the answer would be no. But that's essentially what it does, is that it sends a grade over to the associated student and assignment, and whether or not that shows, that's going to be up in Schoology's, the ball's in Schoology's court for that one. But I can still test it out. Just shoot us an email at info@teachtci if you have that question, and then I'll remember to test that out for you.
And then Melissa asked, does the URL whitelist apply to districts accessing Schoology through Clever? So in other words, their kids cannot directly log on to it, it seems.
The URL, yes. So the reason why, so the whitelist, it basically controls what happens in Schoology. So it doesn't matter how you sign in to TCI or even to Schoology. That URL to give us so we can whitelist it, that will just allow TCI showing up in Schoology. Doesn't matter how you log in, just that's pretty much what it controls. So I suggest sending it over to us. If you can also just try to set it up ahead of time. Maybe your district already gave us your URL and you don't know, or the URL that you're using is like one of Schoology's basic ones. You'll see here that I'm on Schoology.Schoology. We whitelist that one, and I think there's some ways for other people to get in that way on that URL, and so that works fine. I think I saw Alyssa about giving us a URL for a whitelist. Send it to info@teachtci.com. That's the quickest way to get in there. Now with the Schoology integration being available. I do foresee that more people will need to do this because it's just a better way to do it. And so we'll let you know if we have a way for you to give us a URL in the app directly without emailing us. But for now, just email us at that email address. Brian, other questions?
I think we're caught up right now.
Okay, so I'll take questions again later on. So let's just kind of get back to the slides here. So you saw me go to the Help Center earlier in order to get to the Schoology article and the admin article. So I'll plug that again here. If you want to just see what it looks like on your phone, you can scan the QR code. If you want to go there on your computer or try to remember how to get there, it's pretty straightforward. help.tci.com. That's how you get there. Another way to get there would be if you're in TCI, doesn't matter if it's in the iframe or if it's in just another window, but there is a way to get to the Help Center from there. That is this question mark. You click on it and there's a help or a feedback. Feedback will open up a form that you can give us feedback for any reason. Help will take you to the Help Center. And again, to get to Schoology, click on Learning Management Systems. You'll see a link for Schoology here. But those are the 3 best ways to get to the Help Center. And I believe it is super valuable, especially if you don't have superpower memory of how to do everything. But yeah, that's the Help Center. And before I wrap things up, are there any other questions about the Schoology integration?
Yeah, do any of the processes change if students are using the Schoology app?
That's a great question. So the Schoology app, as far as I know, this is the best way to use Schoology with the app, fortunately, because the things I've heard becoming issues in the past were if you use the app, it's kind of like a one-tab browser, where if you clicked on anything that opened up in a new tab, it brought you into your primary browser and out of the Schoology app, and then you have to sign in again. So with this integration, you have TCI inside of a frame on the same Schoology page. So that means you aren't leaving the app in order to access TCI, and you avoid that problem. So none of the processes change as far as I know in terms of students using the Schoology app. There may be some UI differences for teachers if they're using the app on how to set up assignments and stuff like that. But I could only assume that they'll still let you add materials, and the steps should be the same even for teachers. So it should be good.
I don't see any other questions right now, Morris. Oh, what? Our kids log in through ClassLink with Chromebooks. Will that cause any issues?
Nope, shouldn't cause any issues. The thing is, you can set up as many single sign-on options as you want. It's going to take you to the same place. But what that also means is that for Schoology, let's say you're using, typically if you're using ClassLink with us, you already have LTI set up. And so the fortunate thing for you is the admin who sets up the app in Schoology for TCI, they could just reuse the same LTI credentials. So that saves them extra time, saves them the step of like setting up LTI and TCI. In terms of this integration, the same requirements apply. You'll still need to send us a URL to get whitelisted. You're still going to need to set up the TCI app in Schoology so that a teacher can add the material inside of Schoology. None of that changes. So the ClassLink won't make anything worse. And it might just save the admin a little time for the setup, but it shouldn't make anything worse. You won't need to actually use ClassLink to sign in anymore to TCI if you use this option, because students would just click on the links here and not ever need to sign in. So that's also a nice thing. It might make the ClassLink need less often, or less important, I guess. But if there are no questions, I'm going to continue. And then, I think I do have like 5 minutes left. So if you do have last minute questions, you can still ask. But if you could, please put into chat how you felt throughout this session. 1, you loved what you saw. 2, you're very happy. 3, you're surprised, hopefully in a good way. 4, you're a little confused, maybe skeptical, in a good way. 5 is like, it's a little daunting. 6, I'm always confused. Your head's exploding, but I'm going to hopefully say in a good way. But I don't really know what the difference between 6 and 3 is. If you're, it's weird. If you're 4 or 5, then definitely, like, if you have a contact that talks to TCI, mention something to them. If you don't, you can message us at info@tcci.com directly. Typically LMS stuff comes directly to me, so I could probably help you understand some more things. And I'm always open to learning more about how teachers actually use this in the classroom, because that question that we had about the missing indicator, like, those are things we should test. So definitely let us know. And it looks like a lot of good things, so I'm really happy for that. And I think I have another slide after this. Yeah, so plugging tomorrow. Make sure you stick around. Virtual Summit starts tomorrow, and we have a great agenda for the day. The link is there to join, should be on your calendar. Event starts promptly at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Fortunately, I have Brian here with me, and he does a great job plugging everything. So Brian, could you talk a little bit about the agenda, and Adam, welcome to get people excited tomorrow.
Yeah, the day's going to get started with like a firecracker type of opening. Adam's going to get you excited about the start of the year with an inspirational message. And then our colleague Deanna Morrow has got a great session planned on building a community of learners. It is always one of the most popular sessions that we have for these virtual summits. Lots of practical ideas. I'll be leading a session on gamification. It's not a repeat of last year's. So there'll be some new ideas and things that you can implement as a teacher simply inside your classes. And then we'll have a series of breakout rooms tomorrow for integrating civics in your classroom. We know not every teacher out there is a bona fide civics teacher, but we all have to teach civics, right? So we're going to have some really simple, easy ways, practical suggestions shared with you, and an opportunity to be able to share with others. So action-packed day.
Great. And I saw some things come in chat. So before we go into the last slide, 2 things. One, the 4s out there, like Emily. If you like our integration, but you're just feeling unsure about Schoology because of where things are with your district, don't be surprised. When I first started looking at Schoology, I thought every vendor out there was ahead of the game and TCI was behind, and all this stuff. But it turns out there's only like a few select vendors out there that are like ahead of us, like good or bad to say. But also on the school side, district side, there's a handful of districts that are very far ahead in terms of being very, oh yeah, I want every technical thing, every integration. But most of the districts we work with, they do fall into the bucket of, this is our first year using this, we're switching to this, or we used it before and it didn't go well, so we want to try it again. So, if you're a 4, don't be, too scared or anything of the Schoology. Just try it out. You don't have to use it, but it's worth trying out. And you might be that person that gets everyone else comfortable in your district about it. So totally fine if you're a 4. I had a question from Taylor about students. So because the link goes into TCI on the student's account so that they can answer work, it won't work well if the students are not in your class in TCI. Let me rephrase that. It won't work well if they don't have TCI access. If for some reason the students are in a class with access to that program, those links will work fine. So let's say like your support teacher, resource teacher, and you add those links in Schoology, those students are in your class in Schoology, they have access through a different class or a different teacher for some reason, those links should work fine. The only one that's not sure about is assessment, because tests and assessments belong to you, the teacher. So if they're not in your class in TCI, that means it's not assigned to them in the TCI class. So that's the only one I think could have a problem. But in all cases, I do recommend that, you want to reflect the class in TCI with the class in Schoology so that everything is, on the up and up and very smooth. But I don't think there's other questions right now. So last slide. Everyone's a winner. Maybe you saw this before. Just a quick reminder, you're going to get, PD hours for the certificate of attendance. And everyone's going to get Tumblr. I don't have mine yet. Hopefully I get one.
They need to complete the evaluation for that though.
Okay, I'll do that later today. And then the iPad. I think Brian, you know who won the iPad.
I do, and they are not in here, unfortunately. It was somebody that was in a different room. Their name is Thomas Marcotte. Thomas was the iPad winner for today, but we will have one given away tomorrow. So we're going to
All right. Yeah. I think that's rigged. We'll try again tomorrow. Some questions here about the swag. Does a Tumblr come to us even if we can't attend tomorrow? I think the answer is yes.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to know this too. So I get my Tumblr. The evaluation, where do you get that? Do you know?
I believe, Melissa, that is coming via email. Yes.
All right. Perfect. Hopefully I'll keep an eye on that too. But it looks like we are coming to an end. Oh, look at that. Emily got it. Thanks, Emily. So thanks for staying, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Hopefully you're excited. I love that everyone actually stuck to the end. I get a lot of drop off in the last 5 minutes, so you guys are definitely superstars. I'll stick around for another couple of minutes in case there are questions come in, but I think we're good. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.
Bye.